It's September 2008. A rocket is standing on a small island, and right next to it stands the man behind it, Elon Musk. But he isn't happy at all. He's only 37. He just went through a divorce. His rocket company is struggling, and his other company, Tesla, is in even worse shape. Barely anyone is buying its cars, and people are saying it's about to shut down. Things are so bad that he's borrowing money from friends just to pay rent, which is embarrassing because Musk isn't actually poor. He was already a wealthy man at the time. What makes it worse is that every single rocket launch before this one has failed. People openly laugh at him now, calling him a one-hit wonder, since they believe his last success, PayPal, wasn't really his doing alone. Today is the fourth attempt to launch this rocket, called Falcon First. If it fails, the company shuts down today. Some people on the island aren't there to watch history. They're doing math on how much the leftover equipment could be sold for, so they can start paying off the company's debts the moment it fails. Let's fast forward to today. That company is SpaceX, and it finally went public on the stock market. Within minutes of the IPO, Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire, on top of already being the richest man alive. SpaceX today is worth more than the entire GDP of Australia. So how does a rocket company actually make this much money? Welcome to Ledger Theory. Today, we'll explain how SpaceX makes money and the psychology behind its success. Let's rewind and find out. When Musk started SpaceX, he wasn't broke. He had about $180 million from selling PayPal. After buying a private jet and spending a bit, he still had a large chunk left, and he wasn't sure what to do with it. Retire? Or start something new? While thinking this over, a question hit him. After the Soviet era, humans had gone to the moon, but never to Mars. He checked NASA's website and found there was no Mars mission planned at all. This bothered him because he believed humanity needed to become multi-planetary, living on more than one planet, so that a single disaster couldn't wipe out the whole species, the way an asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs. SpaceX's mission statement still references this today. His first idea was a charity project. Send a small greenhouse with a mouse inside it to Mars. The goal wasn't profit, it was publicity, hoping the attention would push NASA to actually plan a human mission to Mars. But to send anything, he needed a rocket. He first tried Europe, flying to Paris with two friends, but the prices were far too high. A friend suggested Russia instead, where rockets were supposedly cheaper. While chasing this idea, Musk started teaching himself rocket science, reading for hours every day with no formal background in the subject at all. In Russia, people laughed at the idea of a private citizen trying to buy a rocket. Eventually, he got in front of military officials who offered old intercontinental ballistic missiles, nuclear-capable rockets with the warheads removed. Musk writes that he traveled to Russia 3 times between 2001 and 2003, and at one point even sensed he could buy an actual nuclear warhead if he pushed hard enough. But the Russians never took him seriously. He was charged just to attend meetings. Generals showed up drinking vodka and gave joking answers to his serious technical questions, and the price kept rising with every single meeting. Quote a figure at one meeting, and the next meeting they'd claim it was a mistake and demand more. Eventually, Musk realized buying a rocket from Russia would never work out. On the flight back, he came up with something he called the Idiot Index, comparing the cost of raw materials in a product to its final selling price. A t-shirt made from $10 of material selling for $100 has an Idiot Index of 10. Applying this to rockets, he found that raw materials made up only about 2% of a finished rocket's price. So he decided, build the rocket himself. In March 2002, SpaceX was founded, with Musk investing $100 million of his own money. Friends thought he was insane. Some reportedly sat him down and showed him footage of rocket after rocket exploding, warning him not to waste his fortune this way. He didn't listen. Operations began in a bare rented warehouse with a beer fridge and no proper offices. People worked at scattered chairs, sitting or lying on the floor when tired. The original Mouse to Mars idea was dropped in favor of building a small rocket called Falcon 1, meant to prove that reaching space could cost a fraction of what NASA was paying. The first launch, planned for 2005, slipped to 2006. And just 25 seconds after liftoff, the rocket caught fire and crashed back down. A second attempt, 2 years later, went a little further before it too exploded and fell. A third attempt came in August 2008, and by then, SpaceX was confident enough to let people send personal items aboard for the ride, including the ashes of Star Trek actor James Doohan, sent up at his family's request as his final wish. That rocket failed as well, breaking apart and falling to the ocean. All of this was happening during the 2008 financial crisis. Nobody was buying cars, let alone an unusually expensive electric car from a company most people had never heard of. Banks wouldn't lend Musk money, and investors were losing patience after 3 failed launches and a car company that wasn't selling. Everything was on the edge of collapse. Then the 4th launch succeeded. 9 minutes and 31 seconds after liftoff, the rocket reached space. The first time any private company had ever done this. A few months later, NASA called with a $1.6 billion contract for 12 future launches, and investors slowly started coming back. And this turn changed the whole game. Today, SpaceX isn't really just a rocket company anymore. Launches aren't even its biggest source of income. It earns money in 4 main ways. The first is Starlink, its satellite internet service. SpaceX now owns roughly 75% of all satellites in orbit, most of them beaming the internet down to places where cables or towers could never reach, including areas far from any city, and even to people traveling by boat. Subscriber numbers have grown from around 9 million in 2025 to nearly 15 million now, adding several million new users every year. Because SpaceX launches its own satellites and the rest of the service is purely digital, Starlink's profit margin sits around 40%, higher than giants like Microsoft or Apple. And since no one else can easily build their own satellite network without their own rocket company, SpaceX effectively has a monopoly that's very hard to break. The second stream is government and international contracts. NASA, the Pentagon, the US military, and other countries all pay SpaceX to launch satellites and cargo into orbit. Even other countries' own satellites were launched this way, built by a French company but sent up on a SpaceX rocket. Their workhorse rocket for this kind of work, the Falcon 9, is remarkably reliable, succeeding on nearly every single launch it attempts. The third stream is Twitter, now X.com. Musk bought it for around $45 to $46 billion, and though its revenue dropped 30 to 40% afterward, it still brings in money, and it's technically owned by SpaceX, which now functions as a holding company for Starlink, government work, and Twitter combined. The fourth stream is a mix of smaller ventures, XAI, Musk's AI company, and Cursor, a coding company bought for $60 billion, both now under SpaceX's umbrella. There are stranger, longer-term ideas too, like building data centers in space for faster solar power, and mining asteroids for gold and other minerals, though none of these generate real revenue yet. So, why did SpaceX finally go public after more than 2 decades? 2 main reasons. First, profits are at an all-time high, making it the perfect moment to launch at a strong share price. Second, it rewards long-time employees, people who'd worked there for decades and were paid partly in stock that had no real value until the company went public, instantly turning some of them, even former cafeteria staff, into millionaires. One more odd detail, SpaceX holds about 18,700 Bitcoin. Like companies that buy land instead of holding cash, SpaceX decided that whenever it had extra money, it would buy Bitcoin rather than let cash lose value sitting idle. Looking ahead, the next big project is Starship, the largest, most powerful rocket ever built, designed to carry about 150,000 kilograms of cargo in a single trip and eventually take humans to Mars. Because it can move so much cargo at once, it could also make shipping goods between countries far cheaper than it is today. Starship has failed repeatedly in testing, just like Falcon 1 once did. But almost nobody doubts Musk will eventually get it right, given his track record. The only real question is when, not if. Think about it. A man with no background in rocket engineering, who wasn't even an engineer by training, taught himself the field from scratch and built a company now worth more than every country in South Asia combined, all within about 25 years. There are a few lessons worth taking from this story. First, good times often only come after a long stretch of bad ones. A rough patch doesn't mean success isn't coming, it can just mean you haven't reached it yet. Second, experts are wrong more often than people assume, since even the smartest, most experienced people tend to think inside fixed patterns and rarely offer advice that breaks outside them. And third, the businesses of the next 50 to 100 years won't look like the businesses of the past. Instead of one company simply doing one thing, we'll increasingly see companies owning dozens of other businesses, all connected and feeding into each other, a far more branching, tangled structure than the simple linear businesses of the last century. Take care, everyone. See you in the next story.